morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and when you're watching. It's Choose Compassion here, Gen X Human, one who knows nothing at all, but I am forever learning. So we are still into the debacle in Dalton, but we wanted to touch on Lori Lightfoot and whether or not her report shedded any type of light on what's going on, who may be responsible, anything of that nature. So I am not going to hold you. We're going to go ahead and get this started.
So let's jump into the specifics. Many of you know that the village's fiscal year runs from May 1 to 30th. So it's those 12 months, but they span 2 years. Certain financial disclosures are mandated under state law that the village reports to the comptroller of the state each fiscal year. Two documents that we're going to talk specifically about are the annual financial report, and you see the citation there, it's a state law, and the audited financial statements. The village has not, and let me repeat that, the village has not complied with these statutory requirements since fiscal year 2021. There's no annual financial report available after 2021 and no audited financial statements after 2021. So what that means is the information that we're providing you has not been thoroughly audited by a CPA, but we do have information coming from an entity that essentially serves as the finance department of the village.
Okay. So we're going to stop right there because I don't know how you can have a village where the mayor as well as the trustees are aware that there hasn't been a report filed for a report, but the state financial disclosures, they haven't been filed since 2021. Now, if we go back in a lot of people's videos, you'll see that what was going on in 2021. Within 3 months, people were trying to recall Tiffany. So you mean the trustees and the mayor were so engaged and embattled and embroiled in this that we just forgot to file our annual reports, our financial disclosures. She's going to go on to say that the expenditures increased 30% with 2 departments involving the same, the most growth. So, of course, that's where we're going to come in and talk about the police department really quick.
There's our hope that we will get further cooperation and be able to have a complete picture of credit cards, but we wanted to share with you what we do know so far. We are aware that over this time period, from 2021 to the present, the village used 6 different credit cards at various points, from January 2021 through May of this year. 4 American Express cards that appear to have been used by various folks within the police department. The statements for these accounts were addressed to Ernest Mobley, Robert Collins, and Louis Lacey.
Mayor, may I interject there for a moment? Because we have, it was former Deputy Chief Mobley is present with us and an amazing officer, so I'm certain there was no misuse or misconduct on that behalf. So I want to make sure I state that because he has been an exemplary officer.
Yeah, we All we know is what we've seen in the paper so far. We have not interviewed any of these folks to get a better understanding of the specific.
Wah, wah, wah. First of all, you all paid $30,000 and running. I don't think you did that to interrupt her. So that was a big mistake for Jason House to take up for one, because essentially, are you throwing the other two under the bus? But, but, but that's for other people to discuss. But more importantly, if you don't know anything about the finances, if you don't know anything about the credit cards, if you're not using the credit cards, but Tiffany is using the credit cards, then how do you know suddenly what the former chief Mosley was doing or not doing? How can you vouch for that? Is that the only credit card statement that you had to work with? I mean, that was just a major red flag right there. Because why, number one, why would we vouch for one person? Number two, why would you even interrupt when you just paid all this money to get this report? Number three, haven't heard yet about what happened in Vegas, because Jason House, you told Stan Brown that this was also an investigation into what happened in Vegas. And the only thing that I've seen so far is a less entertaining version of what Ben Bradley and Dane Placco have shown us. So let's continue, because I want to know where the accountability lies on any and all of this.
General fund is used to pay the vast majority of the village's expenses. As you heard, as of May 31st of this year, the fund had a negative balance of $3.65 million. The village's general fund expenditures have exceeded revenues the past two fiscal years, ending April 30th, 2023 and April 30th, 2024. As of June 30th of this year, the cash on hand in unrestricted accounts is insufficient to cover the held checks valuing $6.1 million. We are in the current fiscal year of FY 2025, and the village has no budget that's been passed this year. The village's financial records have not been audited since FY 2021, and the village has not filed the mandated state annual reports since FY 2021. So where are we in terms of next steps? Regarding the financial information, there's a lot more work that we need to do. As I indicated, we've just recently got a lot of information in the door that is reflected for the most part in this presentation, but there are other things that we have asked for, and we're hoping that we're going to get further cooperation from the Kasperic accounting firm. Additional details.
Okay, hold on. So, isn't the Kasperic accounting firm with the trustees? Weren't they the ones that were supposed to make the report? I guess I'm just not sure why we're waiting on information from the accounting firm that was supposed to have come to a board meeting, said what their findings are. This is another red flag. So that's red flag number 2. Now, they also, the trustees, they have been mentioning fighting for transparency and trying to get the financial information and the records, but access been denied. And so that's why I brought up, if your access is denied and you don't know where these credit cards and these expenditures are, how can you step up to say that the former Chief Mobley did everything that he was supposed to do. That was a red flag to me. So, overall, the the first thing that I saw, and this is based on board opinion. This is not based on any one person. This is not based on elected officials. This is information that the residents should know, and probably whoever is actually interested in who is responsible for what. So here we go. Now, it was noted that Dolton, the village of Dolton, lacks a financial system. Now, the context was the village has small or no full-time financial staff historically. Now, I did notice that she said historically. I wrote it down. So that doesn't mean just in during Tiffanyhenyard's tenure. It is historic. It's been happening. So I did notice that. And then also, there is a lack of a centralized system for the vendors. So, how can you have this kind of infrastructure when there is no type of places or even a centralized way for vendors to submit their invoices? So they've been relying on this firm, the John Casper firm, as their finance department. But during the board meetings, they've been, I don't know, asking the finance department about all of these issues. That was red flag number 3. Now, you should already have internal controls and processes for that. So I'm not sure why there's a government entity that is relying on a de facto finance department. So now, there were a lot of missed opportunities for intervention here. Back in 2021, when Trustee Belcher was taking pictures and knocking on, or not even taking pictures, and whatever else she was doing. And I don't know what the rest of the trustees were doing, but in 2021, within that 3 months where they started to ask for a recall, I believe that the mayor offered to provide assistance to the trustees, but they may not have taken her up on that. And that suggests to me that the trustees may not have been proactive enough in seeking solutions to whatever financial challenges that they were seeking solutions for in the first place. So while the trustees claim that they were hampered by a lack of access to information, the context of everything that they're saying, it also implies that you all failed to establish proper financial systems and processes from the outset. And, this combined with the apparent reluctance to seek help, rather in board meetings tell Mayor Henyard that she doesn't know how to take directives, as we've heard several times. But again, this is about board, trustee, mayor, elected officials, those responsibilities. So your reluctance to seek help within those first 3 months definitely contributed. It definitely contributed to the escalation of the financial crisis over the 3-year period. Now, if Tiffany Mayor Tiffany Henyard is responsible for all this ridiculous spending, and let's say she is responsible for all this ridiculous spending, ultimately, the trustees share responsibility as well for not putting the right systems in place, not putting in those oversight mechanisms in place, those ordinances that they were supposed to be coming up with. And even if you were later denied access to the financial data, like that's the purpose of early on, instead of fighting her, you should have been putting these ordinances in place. And I just think that that's where you all fell off. That's where you, the trustees, fell off your game. You started to focus on Tiffany instead of the legislator, the legislation, instead of the ordinances that you all could have been putting in place, the systems that you all could have spearheaded and been responsible for creating a better infrastructure. That's on you as well. And then, since we're looking on here at the, detailed accounting records and reconciliations, this is another one of the ways that if we're going to talk about the mayor, we have to look at the trustees too. The trustees are implicated in that. And let's just be clear, oversight and fiduciary duty. As elected officials, the trustees have a fiduciary duty to provide oversight and accountability for the village's finances. So the 426 of you all, your failure to fulfill that responsibility by not making the meeting records publicly available, that's a dereliction of your duties. Now, the second thing, the lack of checks and balances, the absence of transparent meeting records and agendas, that suggests definitely a part of the lack of checks and balances within the government. And that creates an environment where financial impropriety can more easily occur. What am I talking about? Trustee Jason House reading off of a warrant list. You're not, is there a copy of the entire warrant list? Are you stating, instead of saying 0125.9 $5,000, $0.35555, $100,000. I mean, is there a printout that you can give the residents the same way as you're saying, put this up on the Jumbotron, put this up on the website? The trustees, you all are complicit in putting those things on the website, such as in 2021 when Brittany Norwood voted to cut the youth budget. Why? Why would you do that? It was citing we could always go back and ask for additional money, but a seasoned board member knows better than to say, okay, I'm going to ask for less money now, and we can just go back and ask for more, not realizing that you're going to have to go through the same steps that you're going through right now. So why waste time? It's, in this instance, the taxpayers' time, government time. So the other thing with the shared responsibility, as a governing body, the trustees, you all share responsibility with the mayor for the village's financial state, because just as we're saying it's Tiffany, it is all of your failures to provide proper oversight and public accountability. That's what makes you all culpable. And that's why people are saying clean the whole house 2025. So while the mayor's leadership may, it certainly called into question the trustees, your own lack of transparency and accountability is also contributing and has significantly contributed to the financial troubles that the village is facing. Your failure to fulfill your duties as elected officials is a key factor. It really is in this overall mismanagement that everyone's talking about. And so then we know also in that first 3 months that we keep asking, what happened? What happened? The mayor and the trustees could have worked together regarding whatever was talked about, whatever was discussed, the retreat. That seems like that would have been a perfect time for you all to come together and try to avoid the financial crisis that you're in. You could have done an immediate financial review and audit. Now, the trustees, you guys could have pushed for a comprehensive financial audit and a review of the village's books as soon as y'all took office. And that would have allowed you to quickly identify whatever issues, um, surpluses, basically what's what. That's the first thing that you could have done. Secondly, you all should have established those financial policies and procedures. So if you all would have collaborated to put in place the controls and the procedures to ensure the proper oversight and accountability, such as, let me think, just off the top of my head, requirements for regular financial reporting, uh, the invoice approval process, all this early on, any restrictions on credit card uses, and then go in a room and talk about it, not just do what you all did and what we saw in the board meetings in the first 3 months. Now, I think that you all also could have worked together immediately to improve the financial transparency by delivering timely publication of those meeting minutes and agendas and all any and all financial reports published. And when I say meeting minutes and I say agenda, I'm not sure why it's 3 years later and we just saw a 2 to 3 page agenda posted on the door alongside of the mayor's agenda items. That struck me as strange. Why were we not doing that in the first place? What was the problem? We could have been posting our agenda right next to the mayor's agenda. That 3 page, or maybe it was just two, but it was a long agenda. And despite everything that's going on in 3 years, the mayor went through the agenda. So that kind of opened a lot of people's eyes. So let me think what else. Just the open communication early on between the trustees and the mayor. But it does make us wonder, as that resident said, was this a setup? Because I also do agree that if there was going to be a recall, you recall the whole slate. I've never heard of anybody like just remove one person. We can't prove she stole anything or committed any crimes, but we just want to remove her and not everyone else. Now, the other thing that you all, and I'm talking about together, so I'm talking to the mayor and the trustees, but I think I am more so talking to the trustees just because it's been shown more and more the pushback with just cooperating. The more that I hear the trustees say that the mayor doesn't know how to take direction, take directives. So when Mayor Tiffanyhenyard says things like, you're not gonna tell me what to do, that hits different now. It hits different. And every time I rewatch a meeting that I have been watching for years, things that she says hit different every single time. But let's go on because I don't want this to be too long. The trustees and the mayor could have prioritized hiring qualified financial staff and then securing that expertise to um, properly manage the finances. So whether that was Kasperick or uh, Keith Freeman, whoever, fill in the blank, that person should have been hired with the actual background, not what they said they do, but the actual background. And so, had you hired somebody just inside qualified without hiring an outside source, number one, I'm going to only assume that could have saved more money, trustees. I'm just assuming that could have saved more money. But had you hired a qualified individual to manage the village finances, that would have reduced that reliance on this outside accounting firm and improved your internal control. Because here we are, even Lori Lightfoot is saying, "Oh, we hope to get this information from them." What? What? That's weird. Now, the other thing, let me think that I oh, the budget. Now, you all, and that's really, I'm gonna put this on the trustees, conducting regular collaborative reviews of the budgets, the expenditures, the revenue sources, everything that you all were saying, like really going over it so that you could identify and address the actual increasing expenditures versus the shortfalls. I mean, I watched a board meeting where you all didn't even realize, and I'm talking to the trustees, you all didn't even realize that if there is a $6 million grant coming down the pipeline, whether or not it actually comes, it doesn't affect your budget. I watched that. I watched you all argue over something that you didn't know, something that requires a simple board training. Like really, board training. How do you not know to go ahead and put that $6 million in there? Go ahead, you have to write down what you plan on spending said $6 million for, so that when it comes down, you can accept it. That was absolute facts what she was saying about that part. You can't accept any grants. And so now I wonder, is that another reason why there's no money? Or have these grants been taken out? Have they been budgeted for so that if anything was to be delivered down the pipeline, could they have been received? I mean, that just really strikes me as weird. Now, I think that you all, and now I'm talking about the trustees. You all could have proactively sought to work with the mayor behind closed doors without always doing this, because at this point now it really looks like you all did not want to work with her. But the last, and maybe the most important thing, maybe what I should have led with, but hey, it is what it is. You all have the power to vote. Tiffany has absolutely no voting power. She can veto a vote that you all have made. She can veto that, but you all are the vote. And at that, you all are the majority. So I don't even understand. And I think I've said that before. I honestly don't understand the level of arguments that are happening when all y'all got to do is vote on it and keep moving forward. Not understanding that at all. But that being said, had you utilized had you utilized that voting power to take any of these actions that I mentioned, you, the trustees, could have potentially intervened and implemented all the necessary financial controls and the oversight within that first 3 months to prevent this escalation and this crisis. It was all about taking proactive measures. And all I saw was complaining. I did not see those proactive measures. Now, again, those are strictly my views and opinion. So if it don't apply, let it fly. If it's some valid questions in there, I'm sure your constituents would appreciate answers to those questions. $3 million. How much did the recall cost? And and can you all still go and sit down with Tiffany without anyone that's currently trying to be a trustee? Or is it too late for that? It might be too late. Never mind, never mind. But we can always pray and hope that people will come together and let the outside influences stop influencing what's on the inside. So that being said, if anything that I said was wrong about any measures that could have been taken proactively, I would love and welcome that conversation. I would love to see that these things actually took place, but nothing happened. If they didn't, I'd like to know if there could be. Additionally, what's the plan for clean the whole house or clean house 2025.com? Well, until next time, love and light to everyone in the chat, and please stay safe and stay positive. Until next